Imagine for a moment that you're standing in a neighborhood that is, well, the absolute peak of suburban safety.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a place called Royal Oak Estates. And, the name alone really tells you everything.
It paints a picture for sure.
It really does. Manicured lawns, SUVs that have never seen a speck of mud. You know the type. Neighborhood watch signs on every corner. It's supposed to be the American dream, completely bubble-wrapped.
Right. It's a place designed from the ground up to keep the world out, to keep danger at bay.
Exactly. And then a child vanishes from a front yard in that neighborhood. Not at night, not in some dark alley, but in broad daylight, in the blink of an eye.
And that just creates this immediate cognitive dissonance. The danger's already inside the gates. The one thing the place was built to prevent has happened.
Right. And that's a standard nightmare scenario. We've heard that story before. But in the case we are unpacking today, the abduction is almost the least disturbing part of the whole narrative.
It's a chilling thing to say, but it's true.
Because when these children are found, they haven't just been discarded, they haven't just been hidden away, they have been curated, they've been transformed.
Curated is the perfect word, as unsettling as it is. We are looking at a scenario that goes way beyond the typical criminology of abduction or homicide. This is something else. We are entering the realm of grotesque theater.
And we are diving deep into The Devil's Closet by Stacy Dittrich. And I want to set the table here, because this isn't just a dry police procedural. It's not a standard true crime retelling. The book is structured like a very specific, very intense case file.
It is. It follows Detective CeeCee Gallagher. And it's so important for you, the listener, to understand right off the bat that CeeCee isn't just a neutral observer here. She's essentially a walking open wound.
An open wound. Tell us what you mean by that.
Okay, so on a professional level, CeeCee Gallagher is a court-certified expert in juvenile sex crimes. That is an incredibly heavy, dark mantle to carry. It means her entire professional life is spent looking at the absolute worst things human beings are capable of.
So she's already operating at a high level of stress, just by definition of her job.
An extreme level.
Yeah.
But what makes her perspective so volatile in this specific case is her own personal history. She isn't just hunting monsters. She is a survivor of one. She was kidnapped herself just the year before.
Wow. So she's not the stoic, coffee-drinking detective you see on TV who just goes home and sleeps soundly.
Not at all. She's deeply traumatized. She's fragile in ways she probably won't even admit to herself.
Though she's tough.
Oh, she's tough, yes. She has that law enforcement grit. But she's carrying this massive unresolved trauma while trying to hunt down a predator. And as we're going to see, this particular predator seems to know exactly which buttons to push.
Which brings us to one of the key themes of this whole thing, right? The personal versus the professional.
It's the central conflict. It's not just about catching a bad guy. It's about CeeCee trying to keep her own reality, her own life, from completely shattering.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive. We aren't just looking at the whodunit. We are analyzing the psychological warfare, the battle between a killer who thinks he's a moral arbiter, a god in his own mind, and a detective who is just barely holding her own life together.
We have to talk about the difference between a ritual and a modus operandi. They are not the same thing.
Okay, and the clash between local police instinct and, high-level FBI profiling, and how personal chaos like a crumbling marriage can actually become a weapon.
A weapon the killer uses against the police. It's a case study in chaos, both internal and external.
So let's start where all that chaos begins. The first victim, Hanna Parker.
Hanna Parker, 5 years old. She lives in that Royal Oak Estates neighborhood we mentioned, the safest place in the world. She's playing in her front yard.
Okay.
Her mother steps inside the house for just a moment, a literal moment, to answer a phone call. It's the kind of mundane action that every parent has done 1,000 times.
Sure.
When she comes back out, the yard is empty. Hannah's gone.
The speed of that is what gets me. Usually you expect a struggle, a scream, something to alert the neighbors. But this was silent.
Silence in an abduction like this usually implies one of two things: trust or extreme deception.
And in Hannah's case, we have a witness that sort of explains how that silence was achieved.
We do. A 4-year-old neighbor named Austin Brewer. CeeCee interviews him, and Austin says he saw Hanna get into a brown van. But it wasn't just a random scary van. He said she went with a mailman.
A mailman, okay, but does he mean a literal USPS employee? Or just someone who looked like one?
He describes a man in a light blue uniform, and this is just a brilliant and absolutely terrifying piece of social engineering.
How so?
Think about it. We teach our children stranger danger, Don't talk to the guy offering candy in a van. Don't help the man looking for his lost puppy.
The classic lures.
Right. But a mailman, a delivery driver, in a place like Royal Oak Estates, they aren't strangers. They're part of the infrastructure. They're background noise. They're almost authority figures.
They're invisible. You don't look twice at a delivery truck. If you see a mailman talking to a kid on a lawn, you assume he's handing them the mail.
Exactly. You don't assume he's abducting them. This predator understands social contracts. He knows that a simple uniform bypasses a child's natural hesitation. It buys him those critical 5 or 10 seconds he needs to get her in the van and close the door before anyone even realizes something is wrong.
So the Amber Alert goes out, the search grid goes up, they are tearing the county apart, every cop, every volunteer.
And eventually they do find her. Hannah's body is discovered in an Amish cornfield.
An Amish cornfield. That choice of location feels significant. It's isolated, it's quiet.
It's another world, in a way. And this is where our deep dive really earns its name, because the condition of her body, it just defies all the standard logic of a violent crime.
What do you mean?
Well, when CeeCee and her partner, Detective Coop, arrive at the scene, they're steeling themselves for the worst. They expect carnage, a brutalized body. But that's not what they find. They find a scene that is eerily, disturbingly peaceful. There's no blood, no obvious bruising on the face. Instead, Hanna has been turned into a doll.
I want to really visualize this for everyone listening because the details are so specific and so important. When you say doll, what are we actually looking at?
We are looking at literal doll makeup applied to a deceased child. Her face has been painted white, like porcelain or maybe ceramic. She has these perfectly round, bright red circles painted on her cheeks.
Like a toy soldier or a porcelain doll.
Exactly. And heavy pink eyeshadow. Fake eyelashes that have been carefully drawn on with a marker or an eyeliner.
Her hair has been curled with a curling iron after she was dead. And there's a red ribbon tied neatly in her hair.
And a matching red ribbon around her neck.
Correct. But it's the lack of any disarray that is so haunting. Her clothes were smoothed out. This wasn't a frenzy of violence. It was a ritual of preservation, a quiet, meticulous process.
It's like the killer was trying to fix her, or freeze her in time, maybe. That is the key concept here. Objectification. To the killer, at this point in his process, Hanna wasn't a human child anymore. She was a prop. She was an object in his fantasy. He stripped away her humanity to replace it with this artificial doll-like perfection.
And there was one physical object found with her that completely changes the trajectory of the investigation.
Yes. Under her hand, placed there very deliberately, they found a shoe.
A white plastic shoe.
Specifically, a shoe from a my-size doll. Now, for those who might not remember, these were popular toys maybe 20 years ago. These weren't small like Barbies. These were dolls that stood about 3 feet tall.
So toddler size?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The size of a small child. So the shoe isn't a miniature. It's a life-size accessory for a life-size doll.
By leaving that shoe, he's basically signing his work, isn't he?
He is. He's explicitly saying, I have turned her into this doll. Here's the accessory to prove it. It's an artistic statement, as much as it is a crime. He's forcing the police to acknowledge not just the murder, but his artistry.
The audacity of that is just staggering. But let's get into the forensic side of this. You mentioned she looked peaceful. How is that even possible if she was murdered?
This is the forensic paradox that stumped the coroner at first. The cause of death was determined to be vagus nerve stimulation.
Can you break that down for us? What does that actually mean in a murder context?
So the vagus nerve runs down the side of the neck. If you apply pressure in a very specific, controlled way, you can slow a person's heart rate down until it simply stops. It causes cardiac arrest.
Okay.
But the crucial difference between this and, say, standard strangulation is that it doesn't cause the violent thrashing. It doesn't cause the gasping for air or the petechial hemorrhaging. That's the bursting of tiny blood vessels in the eyes that you almost always see with strangulation.
So it requires a certain knowledge. You can't just accidentally do that during a struggle?
No, it requires precision and control.
Yeah.
It implies he didn't want to damage her face. He didn't want to mar the canvas, so to speak. He wanted to kill her, but he didn't want to ruin the doll.
Unbelievable.
And it gets even more meticulous. The autopsy revealed that a sexual assault had occurred, but there was absolutely zero DNA evidence left behind. No seminal fluid. Nothing.
That is Terrifyingly disciplined.
It's the hallmark of what criminologists call an organized offender. He is meticulous, he probably uses condoms or other barriers, he controls the scene from start to finish. But psychologically, you have this massive contradiction, right?
What's the contradiction?
He commits this horrific, violent act of assault and murder, an act of pure dominance and destruction. But then he spends who knows how long, maybe hours, painting her face, curling her hair, and ensuring she looks peaceful.
It's a total dichotomy. It's like he loves the doll version of them but hates the human version.
Precisely. He is stripping away their messy, unpredictable humanity to fit them into his devil's closet. He wants the object, not the person.
Okay, so the local police have a highly organized, ritualistic serial killer on their hands. This is way above their pay grade. They're understandably overwhelmed.
Typical in the feds.
Enter the feds. And enter Special Agent Michael Hagerman. Now, in the book, this isn't just a simple professional handover, is it?
Oh, not even close. This is where that theme of the personal is professional just creates a complete disaster. Michael Hagerman is a top-tier FBI profiler. He's one of the best. But he is also CeeCee Gallagher's former, let's call it an almost lover.
Almost lover. That is a very dangerous category.
The most dangerous kind. A year prior, working on a different case, they had this incredibly intense emotional affair that came right to the edge of turning physical. CeeCee is the one who pulled back at the last second, but the feelings, the tension, it's all still there.
And CeeCee is married.
She's married to Eric, who is a fellow police officer in the same department, working the same case. So when Michael Hagerman walks into the precinct to lead the task force, the tension in that room it's nuclear.
So let me get this straight. You have the lead detective, her husband the cop, and the FBI agent she almost ran away with, all trying to solve a serial murder case together. That sounds like a recipe for absolute failure.
It's a massive, massive distraction. You have three people who should be focused 100% on the killer, but instead they are constantly watching each other, navigating all this jealousy and guilt and unresolved history.
And as we'll find out, the killer is observant enough to notice these fractures.
Oh, he notices. But we have to give Michael credit. Professionally, his skills are razor sharp. He immediately starts constructing a profile. He identifies the killer as a sexual sadist, and more specifically, an anger excitation rapist.
Let's break down those terms for a second. We hear sadist a lot, but what exactly is anger excitation?
It's a classification of rapist who derives sexual gratification from the victim's fear and suffering. The violence and the sexual arousal are intrinsically linked, but Michael immediately spots the contradiction we just talked about, the pseudo-unselfish care he takes with the body.
Meaning he's polite to them first?
He's polite, maybe reassuring, perhaps even apologetic to the victim during the abduction itself. It's all an act to keep them calm. Michael labels him a director.
A director, as in a movie director.
Exactly. The crime scene is a stage. The victim is an actor who has to play a specific role in his fantasy. The my-size shoe. That's a prop. If the victim deviates from the script, if they fight back too much or cry, that's when the unplanned, angrier violence likely occurs.
So he's scripting the whole event.
From start to finish. And Michael finds something else, something that widens the scope of this entire thing. He finds a history. He links Hanna's murder to a cold case in Tampa from 1983.
1983.
And another one in Indianapolis.
So this guy has been operating on and off for decades.
Same modus operandi, same age group, same signature makeup. But Michael predicts something dangerous is happening right now. He tells the task force that despite this long, successful history, the killer is currently at the end of his rope.
Why would he think that? If he's gotten away with it for 20 years, why would he stop or change now?
Because he's breaking his own rules. For 20 years, he was a ghost. Now, he's leaving the shoe. That's a taunt. It's a risk he never would have taken before.
He wants to be seen.
Michael believes the killer's subconscious wants to be stopped. Or maybe he's just bored with his own perfection and wants the thrill of the chase. It's an internal civil war, this need for control versus the desire for recognition. And that makes him incredibly volatile. He's escalating.
And we see that volatility almost immediately. The killer stops hiding in the shadows and starts communicating. He sends a package to the Parker family, the parents of the first victim.
A small box. It contained the matching white shoe, the mate to the one they found in Hanna's hand.
That is just pure calculated cruelty.
It's re-victimization. He's invading their griefs. But then he goes back to the scene of the crime, figuratively speaking. He tries to abduct the only witness, little Austin Brewer.
The boy who saw the mailman.
Yes. Austin is at home, and a man tries to lure him out of his house. But listen to the lure he uses. The man asks Austin if he wants to play with Hanna.
Knowing she's dead, that makes my skin crawl.
It's psychological torture directed at a 4-year-old child. But notice the killer's adaptability here. Austin reports that this time the man had blonde hair and was driving a white station wagon.
So he ditched the brown van and the dark hair. He's changing his entire appearance.
He's a chameleon. He knows the police have an APB out for a man in a mailman uniform driving a brown van, so he becomes a blonde man in a station wagon. He adapts.
And he moves fast.
Incredibly fast, because mere hours after failing to grab Austin, he successfully abducts another girl, Ashley Sanders.
And the clue he leaves behind.
A pink my-size shoe left right on top of her backpack at the abduction site. He isn't even hiding the connection anymore. He's communicating directly with the police in real time. He's saying, I took her, here's my calling card, now come and find me.
But he doesn't just communicate through shoes. And this is where the entire story pivots from a police procedural to a personal vendetta. The killer gets CeeCee's personal cell phone number.
Which is a terrifying breach. How does he even get that? It implies he has access to unlisted numbers, maybe inside information, or he's close enough to her life to get it some other way.
He calls her.
He calls her directly, and he recites a poem.
I have the text of it here from the source. It's like a twisted nursery rhyme. He says, babies are dead, and CeeCee is blue, another one gone, find the other pink shoe.
It's mocking. It's childish. It's designed to unnerve her. But the most chilling part of that phone call isn't the poem.
No, it's not.
It's the voyeurism. After the rhyme, he says he likes the black blouse she was wearing.
And the context of that blouse is just, it's devastating.
It is. She was wearing that specific black blouse while she was at a hotel with Michael, having her affair.
So not only is she having an affair with the lead FBI agent in the middle of this massive investigation, but the killer knows about it. He's watching her.
Think about the level of paranoia that induces. You're the detective, you're the hunter, and suddenly the voice on the phone tells you he watched you in your most private, most shameful moment.
He completely flips the power dynamic.
Completely. He holds the moral high ground over her now. He's not just a killer, he's her judge. He is systematically dismantling her life.
It creates this awful triangulation. You have the killer, CeeCee, and Michael, and the killer views himself as this godlike figure, a puppet master, orchestrating a play where CeeCee and Michael are just characters he can manipulate.
And it works. The distraction becomes absolute. Because as the killer escalates his game, CeeCee's personal life goes completely nuclear.
The affair continues.
Yes. CeeCee sleeps with Michael. The guilt is consuming her. And then she discovers that her husband, Eric, the cop, is also having an affair with his own trainee, a young officer named Jordan Miller.
It's a total breakdown of the moral order. Everyone who is supposed to be protecting the city is busy betraying each other. It's just chaos.
And this all culminates in this incredibly ugly scene. A fistfight in the police station parking lot between Michael, the FBI agent, and Eric, the husband and fellow cop.
While a serial killer is holding a child hostage, it just feels so incredibly unprofessional, but at the same time, depressingly human. They're all cracking under the pressure.
It's a perfect metaphor for the entire case. The good guys are literally fighting each other, consumed by their own desires and secrets, while the bad guy is focused, watching, and acting. And the killer, he feeds on this. He knows they're looking at each other, not at him.
And while they are distracted by all this personal drama, the killer's ritual starts to devolve, right? Ashley Sanders' body is eventually found near a reservoir, but it's different this time. The perfection is gone.
The careful, meticulous care is disappearing. With Hanna, she was pristine, a perfect doll. With Ashley, her dress is wrinkled, her hair is a mess, the ribbon is just sort of thrown on top of her, the fantasy is cracking.
Why would that be?
It could be a number of things. Maybe he isn't getting the same satisfaction from the ritual anymore, or he's losing the patience required to complete it, or he's just angry. He's getting sloppy.
And then we get the third victim, Emily Yoder, an Amish girl.
In the killer's mind, a perfect victim in terms of vulnerability. She's from an isolated community, less likely to have immediate media coverage, less connected to the outside world.
A target of opportunity.
A low-risk target. But her disposal is the most telling detail of all. She isn't found carefully placed in a field or by a lake. She's found in a dumpster behind a chain restaurant.
A dumpster? That's about as far as you can get from the sleeping doll image.
It is a total disintegration of the ritual. The makeup is described as sloppy, almost clown-like. There's no ribbon, her nails are unpainted, she's just covered in garbage, discarded. Michael's profile predicted exactly this. An escalation in frequency and a devolution in the ritual. The killer is spiraling. He is losing control.
And usually when a serial offender spirals, they make mistakes.
They get caught.
But here is where this story takes such a frustrating turn. The FBI, they think they've found their guy. And this is where that bureaucracy versus instinct theme just comes to a head. They identify a suspect named Albert Whitfield.
And on paper, Whitfield looks good to the FBI profilers in Quantico. His travel history matches. He was in Tampa and Indianapolis at the right times for the cold cases. He has a prior record. The data points all line up neatly in a file.
So they staged this massive SWAT raid. Flashbangs, heavy armor, the works. They storm Whitfield's house, ready to close the case.
And CeeCee's there, standing on the perimeter watching this whole spectacle unfold. And she knows. She just knows in her gut it's wrong.
Why? What is she seeing that the high-level profilers aren't?
She's looking at the nuance, not just the data points. Whitfield's criminal history involves teenage boys, not little girls. His personality is described as a weasel, a timid, pathetic man. The witness, Austin Brewer, described a bold, confident man who used social engineering to trick him. They're not the same person.
The psychological signature doesn't match.
It doesn't. CeeCee looks at Whitfield's bedroom and sees posters of teen boy idols and, yes, child pornography involving boys. This is a predator, absolutely. But he is not this predator. He is not the doll man.
So the FBI is popping the champagne corks, figuratively speaking. They think they've solved it. They're ready to pack up and declare victory. But CeeCee goes rogue.
She can't let it go. Her instinct is screaming at her. So she goes back to the very first lead in the entire case, the stolen brown van.
The van owned by a man named Carl Malone. It had been reported stolen, used in the first abduction, and then found abandoned. The police cleared Malone early on.
Right. But CeeCee goes back. She actually breaks into Malone's house illegally.
Which, we should point out, is a completely career-ending move. If she's wrong about this, she's done. She could go to jail herself.
Absolutely. But her sheriff has basically given her the unofficial nod to do whatever it takes. She's looking for something the computers missed. She finds tenant lists for rental properties that Malone owns. She's digging for a connection. And while she's out there investigating on her own, she gets her confirmation.
She gets rammed off the road.
A large pickup truck smashes into her car, forcing her into a ditch, trying to kill her.
And this is the moment of horrible validation, isn't it? If she was wrong, if Whitfield was the guy sitting in a jail cell, she'd be safe. The fact that someone is actively trying to kill her proves she is close to the real killer.
Exactly. The FBI has their suspect in custody, but the real killer is out there driving a truck, attacking the lead detective. It completely validates her instinct over the FBI's paperwork. She knows, without a doubt, the game isn't over.
And the killer confirms it himself in the most dramatic way possible. He sends an ultimatum.
This brings us to one of the most chilling props in the entire story.
Yeah.
A young boy walks up to Michael Hagerman in the police station parking lot and just hands him a box. Says a man paid him $10 to deliver it.
And inside the box,
Human bones, a single red ribbon,
yeah,
and a dirty my-size doll shoe.
and a note. Now, this note is crucial. It's not another nursery rhyme this time. It's biblical.
It references the book of Daniel, chapter 6,
Yeah.
the story of Daniel in the lion's den.
The specific quote is, "The king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions."
This offers a profound insight to the killer's psychology, his self-image. He is comparing the FBI suspect, Albert Whitfield, to Daniel. An innocent man, well, innocent of these specific crimes, who's been wrongly accused by the authorities.
So the killer sees himself as the king in this story, or as God.
He sees himself as the ultimate moral arbiter. He is personally offended that the police are too stupid to catch the right man. It's an act of supreme narcissism. He wants the credit for his work.
He's basically saying, you caught the wrong guy, and that insults my intelligence.
Precisely. But there's a very direct thread in there, too. He quotes the part of the scripture where, after Daniel is saved, his accusers and their families are thrown into the den as punishment. And he writes, in his own hand, "Tell me, Cecilia, have your children been cast yet?"
That is the line that just stops your heart. He's not just taunting the police anymore. He is threatening the investigators' families directly. He knows CeeCee has children. He knows Michael has a son.
It's the ultimate escalation. He then demands that CeeCee, specifically CeeCee, be named publicly as the person in charge of his capture. He wants to play the game with her, not the FBI bureaucracy.
It's the ultimate power play. And he gives him a timeline. If the FBI doesn't comply,
one child will be taken for every day they do not.
So now the stakes are impossibly high. CeeCee's kids are put under 247 police protection. Michael's son is hidden away, the FBI has the wrong guy in jail, and the real killer has declared open war on the detectives personally.
And notice the intimacy of that letter. He doesn't just call her CeeCee. He addresses it to Cecilia Catherine Gallagher,
Her full name.
her full name, including her Catholic confirmation name. He knows her middle name. He knows her religious background by quoting Bible verses she would recognize from her upbringing. This doesn't feel like a stranger anymore. This feels like someone who has studied her, who knows her.
And that's where we have to leave the main narrative of the source material for today. It ends on this incredible cliffhanger. The FBI is stubborn, the killer is ramping up his timeline, and CeeCee is trapped in this personal and professional nightmare.
It's an impossible position.
But looking back at all the clues in the sources, there are a few things we really need to unpack before we sign off. There was that one piece of forensic evidence found on the victims that still hasn't been fully utilized yet.
The fiberglass.
Right. Tell us about that.
Traces of fiberglass insulation were found on all the victims' clothing. It's a small detail, but CeeCee realizes it implies the killer's lair, the devil's closet where he does the transformation, is likely an attic or an unfinished basement, somewhere insulated but raw and private.
It just paints this terrifying picture. He's not taking them to some remote cabin. He's keeping them in an attic or a basement somewhere right here in Mansfield.
Hiding in plain sight. And we have to circle back to that Daniel clue for a second. The killer isn't just a sadist. He has this complex, twisted, theological framework for his actions. He genuinely believes he's punishing false accusers. He has a rigid, albeit completely insane, moral code.
And that brings us to the biggest question marks of all, the proximity, the intimacy. He knows CeeCee's movements. He knows about the affair with Michael. He knows what blouse she was wearing on a specific night. He knows her middle name.
Which raises the single most provocative question of the entire case. Is the killer someone they already know? Someone hiding inside the investigation?
A neighbor. Someone in the court system.
Or, and this is the most terrifying thought of all, is it a fellow police officer?
That thought gives me goosebumps. Someone who can watch the investigation unfold from the inside.
Someone who knows exactly when the police are distracted because he is standing right next to them in the briefing room. Someone who has access to her unlisted number, her personal file.
It's a terrifying thought to leave you with. This case shows us that sometimes the monster isn't hiding out in the dark woods. Sometimes he's watching from the window across the street, or maybe even standing in the parking lot while you fight for your marriage.
Vigilance is the only defense. And critical thinking. CeeCee proved that. Even when the entire system is shouting, "We got him," you have to trust the evidence that doesn't fit. You have to look closer at the shoes, the makeup, the behavior. The story is in the details.
Absolutely. Well, that is our deep dive into the chilling world of the Devil's Closet. It's a story about dolls, but it's really a story about the masks we all wear: killers, cops, husbands, and wives.
And what happens when those masks finally start to slip?
Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep your eyes open. You never know who is watching.
Stay safe.